Welcome back to Pop Goes the 60s. I'm Matt Williamson, your host, and today we're going to be looking at something that I typically don't do too often here, and we're going to look at my favorite Beatles songs. Now, in the past, I've gone to great lengths to do some videos on the best Beatles songs, the next 20 best, the worst songs, Beatles psychedelic songs, and for all of that, I've developed these long lists of criteria by which to judge, so we get a little more objectivity. Well, in this case, the only criteria I'm using is if it's a favorite of mine, if I really like it. And I started off with wanting to do 10 songs, and I went to 12, and then I threw in a 13th for a baker's dozen. So we're going to go through 13 of my favorite Beatles songs. You ready? Okay. Okay, number one, I'm going to do these chronological because that's just how I wrote the list out. So the first song is from their very first album. It's called Ask Me Why. Now this song is one that really spoke to me because of the backing vocals. This was the time I was 9 years old when I heard this album for the first time. I went downstairs and pulled out the album from my parents' album collection. This belonged to my mother, and it was introducing the Beatles. And I listened to that whole album, and I just loved the whole thing. But for some reason, Ask Me Why jumped out at me, and it was those great backing vocals. And it was a love song, and I was kind of sweet on this girl. Her name was Vicky at the time. And so that song I was listening to in the spring. The snow was melting, and things were getting warm out, so it was just one of those times. And when I listen to that song, it just takes me back to that time.
Ask me why, I'll say I love you, and I'm always thinking of you.
Next song, also from 1963, Thank You Girl. A few years before I listened to Ask Me Why, my buddy Dan had 345s of the Beatles, and I was 4 years old, and I met Dan, and his older brothers and sisters had this big record collection, and among them was the VJ single, Do You Want to Know a Secret? And Thank You Girl. And both sides got about equal play from us. But for me, I really loved Thank You Girl, and to this day, I still love it. I love the energy. I love just the joy and happiness of it. It brings a smile to my face. And some of those Beatles songs, they still do that to me. So that's what I love to hear, and I like Ringo's drumming in it as well. So just a really fun song.
And all I gotta do is thank you, girl.
Okay, moving forward into 1965, If I Needed Someone. Now this song has got two things that I absolutely love about the Beatles. Number one, the electric 12-string guitar that George Harrison plays, which that kind of kicked off the whole folk rock thing with the Byrds, which is why I love the Byrds, is that jangly guitar. So that's in this song. And nice, really out front and nice and loud. The other thing I love about this is the three-part harmonies. Now the Beatles don't do, hi Bogey, the Beatles, they do three-part harmonies, sparingly across their entire, I guess, the entire catalog. It's not that often, but this sounds great, absolutely majestic sounding, and in about 2.5 minutes, it's got everything I love in a Beatles song. Okay, next song, Rain. Rain is a song that I came across a little bit later because it wasn't on an album. And I guess it wasn't on an album. And when I did hear it, this was when I was probably about 13 or so, and I was getting to the psychedelic music. So Rain had all the elements of a good early psychedelic music. These nice kind of distorted guitar. This lyric is rather psychedelic, but not too psychedelic, not too far out there. And the playing is really good. Obviously, Ringo has talked about this being one of his better tracks. I love Paul's bass playing on this song. So this song was just another great song that I just, to this day, love to hear. Okay, staying in 1966, we have the song For No One, which is off Revolver. Now, this song is one of the more, I guess, early Baroque pieces the Beatles do. And it really always caught my ear because it was a ballad, and it's got this beautiful French horn, harpsichord, hence the Baroque label. And I think that this song really influenced Brian Wilson. There's always the talk about how Sgt. Pepper was influenced by Pet Sounds. We hear that ad nauseum. But really what happened, Revolver was influencing Brian Wilson when he was doing the Smile sessions. So listen to some of the songs and smile, you hear that French horn.
A love that should have lasted years.
Okay, also on Revolver, She Said, She Said. Now this song, this was just a great driving rock song that I love. Again, that early psychedelic period. It's not that unlike Rain, in the same two guitars, bass, drum setup, and just got that great Lennon early psychedelic vocal. You know, this was inspired by Peter Fonda. And, you know, everybody knows the story. It's not that interesting anymore. But the song always stays interesting for me. And that's why when they did a remix of it recently, I could tell it was just lacking. It took the punch out. This song, as originally mixed, both the stereo and mono versions, plenty of punch and just great all around. All right, moving into 1967, we have Getting Better. This is off of Sgt. Pepper. And what I said earlier about the song Thank You Girl, Getting Better is just one of those joyous Beatles songs that puts a smile on my face and will make you happy no matter what mood you're in. Now, the thing I like about it, other than the just buoyancy of it, is the nice mix of instrumentation, particularly the tambura played by George Harrison in the background. It's got that little drone. And I really liked and appreciate how the Beatles drop in these different instruments just sparingly. They don't overdo it. They just add these little textures to the songs, and that's one of them. And that really helps on this song. The other thing I love about this song are the very many layered vocals and that complex harmony. So there's that harmony again that I love. So Getting Better's got it. Off the Magical Mystery Tour album, we have Baby You're a Rich Man. Now there's so many songs I could put on this list, and it was a hard time getting it just down to 13. But Baby You're a Rich Man is one I still like to hear, particularly the intro. And Paul McCartney's playing bass with a pick, and he's getting some nice percussive sound out of that. Really nicely done. And John's playing that Andy-a-lion or whatever, that keyboard instrument in the beginning, which is they used a little bit during that psychedelic period, particularly during Magical Mystery Tour. Very cool sound. And it's another one of those psychedelic songs that I like. High harmonies and just a lot of fun. Okay, also off of Magical Mystery Tour is I Am the Walrus. Now, I Am the Walrus, I heard that at age 9. My buddy Dan, his sister bought him 3 Beatle albums for his birthday. Rubber Soul, the British version, Let It Be, and Magical Mystery Tour. And I remember hearing I'm the Walrus for the first time. And I had the gatefold of the album open because the lyrics were in there. And I really enjoyed reading these crazy lyrics. And I knew who Edgar Allan Poe was. I studied him a little bit in school. And so this literary stuff was kind of coming in. I thought, well, this is kind of interesting. And I didn't know what these words meant, but I didn't care because it sounded so great. 1968, we have Hey Bulldog. This is another song that came to me a little bit late because Dan or I, neither of us had the Yellow Submarine soundtrack, which is the only place it was found in those days. And I love the piano riff, love the heavy guitar. Just a great rock song. And for those of you who don't know, a lot of this, it was kind of ad-libbed in the studio. They cobbled it together, and the song originally was called Hey Bullfrog. But Paul McCartney ad-libbed a bark near the end, and John Lennon just started changing the lyrics to Bulldog. It was that simple. Man, they just make it seem so easy, don't they? Okay, we moved to the White Album for Dear Prudence. I think this is one of their best late period songs. I particularly always liked the layered guitars in the song. And Lennon, just a beautiful vocal. And the song is about their time in India, about a small incident. But he made it into this majestic song that has way more meaning than the actual incident in India. I won't bore you with the details. But this song also has got some nice instrumentation sprinkled in, the piano, great bass by McCartney. And we all know that this is the time Ringo had left the band briefly. And Paul plays drums on this track, although there's some evidence that suggests that Ringo overdubbed the last part of the song. So I hope there's more information that can confirm that information. We will find out. But the end of the song does sound like Ringo, and won't get into that, but it's just a great song. Great guitars, great vocals, fun lyric. Okay, I'm going to throw a curveball at you here. And this one, still, I just love it. It's All Things Must Pass. This is the Beatles version they did in January of '69 when they were doing the Get Back, Let It Be sessions. Now, I got this on a bootleg. This was a very early bootleg I got on album back in the late 80s. And then I got it on CD, which is a slightly better quality. So I've been listening to this for years. And this is the song that really got me into the whole Get Back, Let It Be tracks, all those sessions, the 97.5-hour plus sessions that I've done many videos on. Well, this song enthralled me so much, and what got me, here we are again with the backing vocals. I think that John and Paul's backing vocals just take it to another level, something that isn't done on George Harrison's solo version on his first album. And the version that we have from the Get Back sessions, it's a run through. It's not that good. It's not very polished, but boy, I sure love it. So the 13th song I've got for you is You Never Give Me Your Money. I remember getting Abbey Road. My buddy Dan bought it for me. For some reason, when we started gathering all albums together, you know, I mentioned those 3 albums his sister got him. Well, shortly after that, she got him Revolver and the White Album. And then we went into his brothers and sisters' crates of albums and pulled out Abbey Road and Sgt. Pepper and Hard Day's Night. Well, somewhere along the way, I don't know what happened to Abbey Road. So Dan ended up buying Abbey Road for me for my birthday one year. And I never heard the album. I don't think I ever heard the whole album all the way through. At least I didn't listen to it very closely until I got the album as a gift. And that side 2 really blew me away because I hadn't known it very well. And I remember listening to, the whole album sounded different to me because I think they used a new console to record, so it has a more modern sound. And You Never Give Me Your Money just sounded like a more modern Beatles song to me. And there's those different sections of the song that weave together really nice. Paul's got he uses a couple of his different voices. And again, instrumentation's great. He sings it really well. And it was one of my favorite tracks on Abbey Road.
But oh, that magic feeling, nowhere to go.
So those are my 13 tracks, a baker's dozen of some of my favorite Beatles songs. What I'd like to have you do, I haven't done a survey in a while. So I'd like to hear your favorite Beatles songs. So if we get enough, what I like to do is just kind of tally them up and see where we're at with them. These could be all over the map, and all you need to do is have a favorite song, or say 10, and write them all down. So I'm going to do one of my surveys. The link is below. And for those Beatle fans who just can't get enough, I've got some really cool merchandise on my website, some fun Beatles stuff that you might like, and any purchases there help support this channel. So I really thank you for watching. I'll be back probably in a couple weeks with some results from the surveys you're about to take. Thanks for watching. Pop Goes the 60s.